Welcome to another great episode of the Contractors Business Builder podcast. We have the honor of hosting Mark Harari. He is a vice president of Remodelers Advantage. Most contractors struggle to stand out, both to potential clients and great employees. Yet Mark Harari has helped thousands break free from being just another builder to becoming in-demand, high-margin experts that attract top-tier clients and top-performing team members alike. How you doing today, Mark?
Good. How are you, Derek?
Doing great. Looking forward to diving into this. So,
Yeah.
can you just give us a quick little history background on yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you got here?
The quick version. Started in the industry with 84 Lumber. I did the whole management thing with them and got into sales. I went to college for marketing and psychology. So I always had that bug in the back of my head. And I actually started doing kind of side gigs and things with the clients, the remodelers, the builders that were coming in, doing some marketing work for them too. And so my side hustle started then, and I was able to scratch that itch. And, fast forward, I always stayed in the industry. My marketing, everything was around remodeling, construction industry, been well over 30 years now. And owned a small remodeling company for a few years, about 6 or 7 years, until the bubble burst, and I was done with that. And I found my way to Remodelers Advantage, and best thing that ever happened to me. Love it here. I love the people. I love all the members and all the work we do to help them. And it's just a wonderful thing. So that's 30 years and 30 seconds.
Perfect. So yeah, good history and track record there, working with multiple companies now at Remodelers Advantage. You wrote a book a little while back called Lobster on a Cheese Plate. Interesting, catchy name there. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means and how it benefit remodelers and GCs?
Yeah, absolutely. Lobster on a cheese plate. How to stand out, attract the best clients, and win every sale that comes your way. It's funny. I tell the story. People ask me how I came up with the name, and really it was just had a working title, right? Marketing book. And one day, kids were little. They said they were going to go play PlayStation. So my wife and I said, "Hey, we got the night to ourselves. Let's watch a movie, pop some popcorn, and all that." And she said, "You know what? Forget the popcorn. Let's get some cheese, some wine." And all that. And I love cheese. I mean, I am a cheese guy. So, uh, long story short, that's where the name of the book came from, because I was struggling with it when she brought the plate of cheese over. I was just struggling. I couldn't decide which cheese I was going to eat first. It was like, do I eat the Gouda or do I go with the cheddar or what? And blue cheese. And I'm sitting there with all these great choices. And that's when it hit me. It's like, that's what most, unless you got really small guys just getting started, you got established companies, you're not going against bad people or bad companies. You're going against good companies. The prospects, the homeowners, they're faced with a lot of good choices, just like I was with my cheese plate. And so the only way to get through that is to stand out. You got to be that piece of cheese that stands out. Right. So lobster was like, well, lobster stands out on a cheese plate. So there you go. And that's kind of how the title of the book came. But it's really about being different. You got to stand out in your market. And, they all have tons of good choices. It's not like you're the only good choice and everybody else. It's an obvious thing. So that's what the book helps you do. It's what I've really pushed on is putting the steps together so that you do stand out and attract the best clients for you.
Right on. Can you dive into that a bit about how contractors can stand out? Many contractors, they don't have a marketing background, and they're sort of like, I build houses, they build houses, I do renos, they do remodels, whatever, right? Like how do you differentiate yourself, or what advice would you give to start thinking about that for the business owners out there?
So really, I broke it down into the 6 stones of positioning. I kind of borrowed the idea from the Marvel universe with all that, with the Infinity Stones and such. I like to have some fun. I'm a big movie guy, so a lot of movie quotes in the book. But, if you get all 6 stones, you're going to rock it. You're going to own your market. And the number one stone, the one that's the most important, is the first stone. And it's really what kind of gets to the root of all this is identifying your target. And, I know that's something that everybody always hears, who's your target market, but you got to get a lot deeper and a lot more granular than just, you got to get beyond the demographic stuff. So many people I talk to, it's like, well, it's anyone that has a household income of, over $200,000 a year, and they live in this area and blah, blah, blah. And that's just way too broad. That's not a target. In order to stand out, you have to connect with people. We all like people that are like us, right? We're attracted to people that are like us. So you really got to get deep into it. Some people have talked about, identifying your avatar or what have you, but you got to get deep into the psychographic stuff. What are their interests? What music do they listen to? What kind of, are they homebodies, or do they like to hike? And it may seem silly, or it also may seem like I don't want to get that narrow focused on my market, right? But the truth of the matter is that's how you communicate. It's hard to communicate. I'm talking to you right now, right? I mean, this is what it is. It's a one-on-one conversation. And even your website is a one-on-one conversation with people, right? Unless people are huddled around a computer with you, navigating through websites. The truth of the matter is one person's reading your website and your website's talking to that person. And so when you're having a one-on-one conversation with someone, you have to talk about things that they want to listen, they want to hear about, and if people are into hiking and all that stuff, aren't you going to do better if you're into it too? So having the ideal client that is zoned in and identified, and all your communication, everything you do targets that type of a person, you're going to be attracting the right people. And it comes down to that. It's like they're going to say, this guy or this girl, this gal, this person gets me. I'm going with them. They understand me. We're one and the same. They know my things. They know the things that keep me up at night, the fears and all that stuff. And that's all part of the psychographic stuff as well, right? I mean, is your target someone that's afraid that they're going to get hustled, they're going to find a bad hire, or are they just concerned with being the envy of the neighborhood? What are these emotional things that you're trying to fill? What are the emotional needs you're filling for your target?
For sure. And there's like layers to it, right? As you mentioned, like if you start a little broader with your demographics and things like that, and then you really, I always say, like, whoever knows the client best is going to win the sale at the end of the day, essentially. Like, you want to do business with people that get you, they understand you. There's that no trust like thing. And the more in line you can be with your ideal client, the more you're likely to attract those people at the end of the day, and, make your life easier as running the business, but typically, better margins and easier sales and all that kind of stuff that goes with it.
It just popped in my head. Have you ever seen the movie Multiplicity? It's a Michael Keaton movie.
I know the movie. I don't know if I've actually seen it before. I don't think I've actually seen it, but I remember when it was out. Yeah.
Multiplicity, I've used this before. It's a perfect example of the importance of this. Really quickly, it's Michael Keaton. He's a GC, he's a contractor, super busy, no time for his family, all this stuff. They happen to be working at a place that's doing experimental stuff, and they do cloning. All right. So long story short, they do this side little thing and they clone Michael Keaton, and he clones himself so that he can get more done, and nobody knows that there's two of them. And then he clones himself again, and there ends up being like four of them. Okay. The reason I bring it up is because these are four Michael Keatons. They're clones. So from a demographic perspective, they all fit perfectly. They all make the same amount of money. They're the same height, same religious beliefs, everything. But each of the clones, one's like a macho, beer slugging, womanizing sport nut. And the other one is very effeminate and likes everything prim and proper and doesn't like a lot of language. And so the psychographic stuff stands out in this movie. And I use it as a great example of this is why it's so important to get beyond demographics. Because if you were to see the movie, or any of your listeners have seen it, they should be clicking. I can't say the same thing to all four of those guys. I'm only going to make friends with one of them, right? Because they have completely different beliefs, different ideas. So that's why it's so critical to understand your ideal client, your perfect client, psychographics, so that you can communicate and win that sale.
Great analogy there. There's a difference and be a lot of nuance to people, and knowing that ideal client is so important. So bring this, like, understanding it is one thing. Obviously, you need to know that, but more in a practical sense, you hear about like positioning or messaging in marketing. What does that look like, or how should GCs be thinking about that as far as getting their message or positioning their business for attracting those people?
Yeah. So really your messaging comes from, it starts with your positioning statement, right? Your positioning statement is the thing. Most of your listeners, if not all of them, probably have a mission statement. I'd say less, but many will probably have the vision statement for their company. So all companies should have a mission. They should all have a vision. You should also have a position statement. And the positioning statement drives all of this. It basically identifies who your target is, what you provide them, and how you do it in a way no one else does it. right? And when you have a good positioning statement, it drives the messaging because you identify what the unmet need of the client is. And that's one of the things that I think is missed when you try to do messaging is you're just saying, hey, we do decks. You need a deck. Call us, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the functional need. Yeah, somebody may need a deck, but you're not selling the functional need. You're selling the emotional need you're fulfilling. What's the emotional component of the reason they want the deck? Is it because they want a safe place for their kids to play? Is it because they want to show off to the neighbors, right? There's always an emotional component to it. And when you find that emotional component, you can drive the messaging you're trying to do. One of the examples I've used with clients and in the book is with the deck. If your target is a mother in her 30s with two young kids, right? The emotional need for this particular target customer is that her kids will always be safe, right? And if you've ever seen the Subaru car commercials, they're big on safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect example of how that's what you're communicating in your messaging. Subaru's not like, hey, buy a car. There's one commercial that stands out to me. It's bad accident. A woman pulls up, runs out of the car, panicked, and she sees her husband and daughter come running over. And the car's a wreck. And she says, the best part of something like the best thing when I had my Subaru was when my family walked away from it. And that was it, right? Subaru's like, we're here to sell you not your functional need, a four-wheeled vehicle that gets me from point A to point B. We're selling you the emotional component. We're selling you the safety that you want your family to have, right? Mm-hmm. So messaging is directly tied to that psychographic stuff, the emotional needs and all that. And when you start dialing that in, that's when you get you're the differentiator again, right? You want people to hear what you're saying or read your messages on your website and be nodding their head in agreement while they're reading it, saying, yeah, that's me.
Definitely. Yeah. And getting back to your previous point of the lobster on the cheese plate of like standing out, that's where if people are looking at a few different builders to work with, if your messaging is on point like that, it's not even going to be a conscious thing for them. It's just going to feel right for them essentially, and you're more likely for them to reach out to you and to go with you ultimately, and that's where it works. And nowadays, I mean, with AI and everything, you want to have all this stuff documented. Like think through it, put it in a document, and then you can give that to your marketer or whether that's internal, external, AI, whatever, and it can use all that information about psychographics, demographics, anything that you've written, essentially your mission statement, vision, like give it all that information so that you can align your marketing specifically with that. Now we talked about attracting clients. How about like good employees? Because your team members are another, you need to differentiate yourself again because they, a couple dollars an hour more somewhere else, they, what's going to keep them from jumping ship, right? So how do you attract the right people using these types of concepts?
Yeah, 100%. You see, you're a very advanced thinker there, Derek. That's what I'm talking about because it's the exact same thing. Your employees are a different type of customer that you're trying to attract, right? You're trying to attract the right people that are going to fit. It's not about just a job description. Here's the things I need you to do. That's the functional stuff that they're providing. But what else do you need from the employee? They got to be a good fit, cultural fit, right? If it's not going to matter how great someone is if there's no alignment in culture, in beliefs, in values, and all that stuff. So similar to what you would do with your target customer, you want to do avatars. You want to do your ideal client or customer for the employees, right? This role, this position, here's what I'm looking for. They have kids. They don't have kids. They believe in this. They believe in that. I mean, within reason, obviously you can't do things that are against hiring practices, right? But you want to identify because then you're just going to naturally attract the right people. Once you've identified it, your ads, your messaging that when you're trying to promote the opening position you have is going to be connecting with them because you're going to be saying things that they resonate with the right people you want. So by default, that's really what it comes down to, whether it's employees or customers or clients. If the messaging is talking to that person, that target of one, then the people way outside on the outer limits that just completely opposite the type of person you're talking to, they're not even going to call you because they're not connecting with you, right? So you're kind of built-in auditing You've got a
Yeah.
built-in system to make sure that the wrong people don't call you and they
Mhm.
call others. But hiring is
Yeah.
100%. You want to do the exact same steps you would do with trying to hire clients.
And I know it can be scary, like narrowing your niche or nailing your niche down. And you're like, well, now I'm excluding all these other jobs and will I get less work and things like that. But typically speaking, there's hundreds, thousands of people looking for your service and they're looking, at more than one company. And you're just helping funnel the right people to your company that's going to be the best fit, essentially.
To that point, I always say you should be talking to a target of one. It's one specific person. I mean, nail it down. 32 and a half years old, three and a half kids, right? Divorced, went to Cornell, drives a BMW, makes, I mean, get it that granular. If you're talking to one person, it's much easier because you know who you're talking to. And then if it's a bullseye, you go to the next ring out. Okay, they only have one kid, not three. Well, that's okay. Most of your messaging is still going to resonate. And you go out
Mhm.
another ring. Well, okay, they didn't go to Cornell, but they went to Harvard, right? Okay, well, they're still educated, and you keep going out rings. And you're just because you're talking so specifically doesn't mean you alienate everyone on the outer rings. It's just when you get way out here that now you're alienating. But that's a good
Mhm.
thing. That's not the kind of person you wanted anyway, right? So
Right.
it works out. It's fine. It's not a thing to be afraid of. And
Mhm.
yeah, I get all like amped up about it because it's not
Mhm.
something to be scared of. You can't be everything to everybody. If you try
Mhm.
to be, you're nothing to nobody.
And it's not that you're not going to do work with people that don't fit that specific, person of one. The idea is to be really sharp and refined with your marketing, and you'll work with people kind of like you mentioned in those rings or that bubble, if you will, like of people. But the likelihood of bringing the right people is it makes the world of difference, both in margins and just like as far as like stress levels and dealing with the right people. And one thing I've found helpful, whether it's a client or employee, is if you've been in business for a few years, who's the best employee that you ever had for this position or role in your company? And then you can kind of typically that type of person is going to be very similar to the ideal type of person you want. Same with clients. If you had like an
Absolutely.
amazing clients, like I want more of those people, then that's you need to how can I message and market to that type of
Yeah.
person specifically?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I say it all the time. Go in and find your best. And not only that, I'll say go find your worst nightmare clients. Pull them out.
Sure.
Pull
Mm-hmm.
them out and then start comparing and look at the differences, right? Okay, well, you'll start to see this person was a heavy metal. They listen to heavy metal. This person listens to classical. I mean, just look at all that stuff and you start to see
Mm-hmm.
some similarities and the things you
Yeah.
want to avoid. And you also see how if the messaging was geared toward this person, that person probably wouldn't have called you anyway and saved you a lot of
Mm-hmm.
headache, right? And it's
Yeah.
again, it's not about alienating anything. I mean, look at Apple. Apple's
Mm-hmm.
target is not 80 to 90-year-old women. There's
Mm-hmm.
80 to 90-year-old women that have iPhones,
Yeah.
but they're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell to them, right? That's not their
Yeah.
target. So you
Mm-hmm.
can sell to people outside of your target, but refining your message so you have a clear path to the right people.
Definitely. So as far as like mistakes or outdated mindsets or things around marketing, what do you see if you could dispel some myths or if you see mistakes that contractors make when they're thinking about the marketing?
Well, the obvious one that we've pretty much beat to death is everybody's my customer.
Mhm.
So that's a big one.
Yeah.
And I know it's scary because you want to just say anybody within 60 miles of my office, I will sell. So that's a big one. I think the other thing is just thinking of marketing as an expense. It's
Hmm.
not an expense, it's an investment. And with any investment, whether you're putting it into the stock market or into your company, you should expect a return on the investment. So this isn't an expense. You're putting $100, $50, $50,000, whatever number you're putting in, you should
Hmm.
expect two, three, five, whatever X return on that investment. And
Yep.
when you just get your head around that, it makes it easier because there's so many people, I don't want to waste my money on marketing. Well, you
Hmm.
shouldn't. I agree. Don't waste your money on marketing.
Yeah.
Let's invest it in the right things and get a
Hmm.
return on that, and that's how you grow and that's how you prosper. So that's the biggest thing, man.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, depending on the size of your business and sort of how long you've been in business, but typically you're going to have a percentage of your revenue, which would be overhead, maybe 1 to 2, 3% of your revenue typically would go to marketing and for a company, depending on how aggressive you want to be. Or, again, if you have those checks and balances in place and you know that it's, driving more sales and you're making more money and it is that, multiple X investment, then, depending on how fast you want to grow, it's, you just continue to invest in what's working and double down on it. So at Remodels Advantage, you guys have a lot of, peer groups. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And then what are some of like the top traits that you see from, the really successful remodelers, GCs that you've worked with?
Yeah, great question. So the cornerstone of what we do, what we're built on, is the Roundtables program. It's the peer-to-peer mentoring groups. We have over 25 groups. They're non-competing business owners. We also have what we call the tactical groups, where it's groups for production managers or marketers or office managers, and they all get together. And it's a board of advisors, right? It's your own board of advisors. You meet twice a year in person, and you meet monthly virtually. And they just support each other. They help each other. It's because they're non-compete. They open their books. They look through each other's financials. They 9 other companies looking at you. They see things you missed. And it's a strong thing for sure. The thing that makes the most impact, to answer your question as far as what's the common traits, the most successful ones, it's hard, but they have the humility and the openness to be able to take hard feedback. It's not about getting defensive. The people that come in don't last long when they're constantly defending some reason that they did this or that. You need to take the advice you're getting from a lot. All of us is smarter than one of us is kind of our thing, right? So let's take all that, and having that humility and thick skin to be able to understand that people are trying to help you. Those are the guys and gals that really go far, and they continue to invest in themselves and their company. So, we do a lot of things besides this. We have master classes and things. And really one of the biggest reasons why we offer all that is because it's not just about helping the owner. Beyond the owner, you want to have your team grow, invest in your team, have them develop and learn. And so investing in their team is another big trait, because that's what really helps you differentiate yourself in your business. Because then it's rare that you hire an A player, but A players, you can grow A players. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Having that open mind, that humility, realizing, you're not the smartest person ever. And then other people, you don't have to take every feedback and run with it, but you need to be open that, hey, maybe I haven't been doing
Yeah.
this, to the best that I could, and somebody else, can see stuff that I don't. Because often we're so close to our own businesses, and it's all we do, kind of, day in, day out. That you don't have the experience other people have, and you can't really see things from the inside out sometimes that other people can, from the outside in. So for
We all
sure,
do
and
it.
then
I do it.
yeah. And,
We all
and
do it.
leaders build people. That's part of it. Like investing in the team, definitely. That's how you can build a business that isn't just totally reliant on you, is by building the people around you, and giving them the ability to lead and manage themselves and other people and things like that. So we're going to put the links to your book as well as Remodeler's Advantage in the show notes and description here, depending where you're listening, watching this. What's the best way for people to reach out or to learn more about you and Remodeler's Advantage?
Yeah. So Remodeler's Advantage is simple. It's remodelersadvantage.com. You can find out all about our programs, about, we have a lot of resources. There's, a lot of guides you can download for free and all that kind of stuff. So go check it out. We have one-on-one consulting. We have master classes. Some of them are just a 1-day class. Some of them are 6-week classes. So we have all that. So we have a little something for everybody. And if you have any questions for me, I'm pretty open. My email is mark@remodelersadvantage.com with a K. So, I have no problem. My members email me all the time. Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? So, I might not get back to you within seconds, but I try to respond to everybody. So
Yeah.
we're all about it here. So reach out. We're happy to help.
Wonderful. So yeah, go click the link, go check out, Remodeler's Advantage, get some free resources, reach out to Mark here if you got a question. Any last words of wisdom or final point that you want to touch on, Mark?
Well, when faced with the choice, leave the gun and take the cannolis.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much for coming on here, Mark, and sharing all your knowledge and expertise.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, sir.